Distinguished plenary, good morning. We invite you to take your seats. Can you please? All right, we are ready to begin. Governments, institutions, and partners invest in the GEO work program because they believe that Earth intelligence, thank you for that, because they believe Earth intelligence can change decisions and save lives. This is exactly what today's session is here to explore. My name is Madiha Bajwa. I am the Chief Work Program Coordinator at the GEO Secretariat, and I'm joined by a panel of speakers representing 5 GEO Work Program activities. From my far right, we have with us Antje Heschel-Tien, the co-chair and secretariat lead of GEO-LDN, Land Degradation Neutrality, using Earth observations to help for land restoration. Next to me is Michele Melchiori, the co-chair of the GEO-Human Planet Initiative, using Earth observations, surveys, and geospatial data to map where people are and how to achieve safe, resilient, and sustainable human settlements. On my other side, I have Angelica Guterres, the program director of GeoGlows, using water data to make life-saving forecasts. Lisa Maria Rebello, the managing director of Digital Earth Africa, building continental scale Earth intelligent infrastructure. And at my far left, we have Wenjing Huang, leading GeoPDRS, protecting agricultural systems from pests and disease, using Earth observations, of course. In today's session, we're going to move through 3 arcs of conversation. In the first, you will hear about program impact. In the second, we will discuss what it takes to get there. And in the last, you will hear direct calls for action towards you. I will begin with Antje, GEO-LDN. GEO-LDN was created in direct response to a request from UNCCD's Conference of the Parties. Since then, you have progressed through the GEO's R2O pipeline and become a GEO flagship, helping countries tackle what is one of the biggest environmental and economic challenges of our time, estimated to cost 10 trillion a year to the global economy. So Antje, can you share one concrete example of where your work has changed an outcome?
Thank you very much, Madiha. Good morning. So before I begin, I would just like to briefly mention that Her Excellency Professor Mrs. Ese Awuah, Ghana's ambassador in Bern, had originally planned to be here and express her strong support for this discussion and for the GEO-LDN initiative. And due to travel restrictions, she was unfortunately not be able to be here. So I'm therefore very pleased today to be here in my role as GEO-LDN co-chair and GEO-LDN secretariat lead, and to talk on behalf of our global partnership and the many countries we work with. As Madiha said, land degradation is one of the major environmental and socioeconomic challenges of our time. It's across the world. Communities already experience these impacts, from soil degradation and drought to coastal erosion and declining ecosystem services. So through GEO-LDN, we work together with currently 20 countries, scientific institutions, regional organizations, and technical partners to help to transform Earth observation data into practical decision-making tools that support sustainable land management and resilience. So let me give a very concrete example. A very strong example is coming from Ghana, where GEO-LDN has been supporting work on coastal erosion, together with national institutions and partners such as Digital Earth Africa, sitting here, Lisa, from whom you will hear shortly. So the goal of this project was very simple: to give Ghana better information to protect people, communities, and coastal environments. Using satellite data and local knowledge, the project helps to identify where erosion is happening fastest, which communities are most at risk, and where action is most urgently needed. So this helped national and local authorities to make better decisions on coastal erosion, on coastal protection, land use planning, and community resilience. Before this project, these decisions were made with very limited geospatial information. So the concrete impact of this project is that it contributed to the protection of around 80 kilometers of coastlines. As you can see on the picture there, it's from the community of Keta, where you see an area affected by the flooding and the constructions that are built to protect the coast. And what makes this example particularly important is that it did not remain a small pilot project. So the work has already expanded from Keta to Comenda to Dutch Comenda, where communities are facing similar challenges. So most importantly is that the work then is helping communities to become more resilient to flooding and erosion. Also important that it was a participatory approach, so local officials and community elders were actively involved in identifying the risks and sharing their experiences. Well, this matters, of course, because communities are the ones that often understand the risks and the environmental changes best. So the project also invested in young people who participated in the mapping and community engagement activities. This helped to connect science, local knowledge, and future generations. So to close this, this is just one example from Ghana. And the broader lesson goes far beyond this community. So similar GeoLDN approaches are being applied in several countries across the globe, also in different topics like rangeland management, afforestation, integrated land use planning, and together with our network of partners and country teams. For Ghana, this shows that investment in Earth intelligence is not only about technology. I think this was a common line that we heard very many times here in the symposium. It is about giving countries better tools to protect communities, support livelihoods, and plan ahead, moving from reacting to environmental damage toward building resilience for the future.
Thanks, Antje. So 80 kilometers of coastlines protected through close work with communities, including youth, and a pilot that didn't stay a pilot, but was scaled effectively. Thank you for that. Let's move over to talking a bit more about water. Angelica, you have spent years at NOAA where you helped build the hydro forecasting architecture for the National Water Center for the United States. Then you turned that ambition global. GeoGlows now provides and models river flows across 7 million rivers globally, and also provides 80 years of historical hydrological data. The system is backed by major partners, including NOAA, NASA, ECMWF, the World Bank, Google.org very recently, ESRI, and AWS. But as you say, global systems only matter if they reach the right person at the right moment. So can you please tell us about a specific user whose decisions changed as a result of your work?
Thank you, Marika, and good morning. I will give you two cases for opposite circumstances, flood and drought. In November 2020, two major hurricanes hit Honduras within 14 days of each other, Eta and Iota. Both hurricanes followed the same track, and the Sula Valley was on their path. The valley generates 65% of national GDP and is the agricultural and industrial engine of the country. Two rivers run through the valley, but only one is controlled, and that is through the hydroelectric El Cajon Reservoir, which is managed by Honduras National Electricity Company. When the first hurricane arrived, the electricity company was working with the tools they had: flash flood guidance for 24 hours, weather models for up to 3 days. The reservoir was already full beyond safe levels, and engineers feared the dam itself might not hold. They did everything right. They maximized energy production, but ETA destroyed many of the in-situ net stations on the ground. And then came the second announcement nobody wanted to hear. A second hurricane was on its way, just 13 days away. The models they had couldn't answer the only question that mattered. How much water is Utah bringing and when? They couldn't see that far. And without that answer, there was no basis for a reservoir management plan. Through the AmeriGeo network, the electricity company discovered GeoGlows. We work with them online, helping them to test whether or not our GeoGlows forecast was suitable for the decisions they were going to make. And on November 12th, with Utah still days away, they committed. The entire reservoir management plan was based on GeoGlows forecast. With the forecast guiding their decisions, they released water strategically between the two storms to create storage capacity. And then on November 17, when the second hurricane was in full force, Honduras made the most consequential decision of all. They closed the gates of El Cajon Dam entirely to prevent adding to the already extreme flows towards the Sula Valley. That is a decision worth billions, made with confidence, because they had 15 days of data they trusted. And that was GeoGlows. The damage of both hurricanes was calculated by the Economic Commission for Latin America and the Caribbean at $2.1 billion. Still devastating, but 40% lower than the damage of Hurricane Mitch in 1998, also a Category 5. As of today, GeoGlows is used for the routine weekly operation of El Cajon and other reservoirs in the region. That is institutionalization. That is what it looks like when a global system becomes part of countries' operating infrastructure. Now let me take you to Ecuador. Next slide, please. A country of 17 million people that went dark. In 2024, Ecuador experienced the worst drought in 60 years. And because over 70% of Ecuador's energy is produced from hydropower, when the river runs low, the lights go out. Blackout reach up to 14 hours a day, not for a neighborhood, not for a city, for the entire country. So the people and the economy suffer. $12 million for every hour without electricity. Colombia, which has been selling power to Ecuador, stopped because Colombia was going also through the same drought. Every day, the Ministry of Energy was choosing between bad and worse, when to cut, for how long, which circuits to protect. And for all those decisions, they needed one thing, to know how much water the rivers would bring each day. That is where Ecuador Hydromet Service, INAMI, stepped in. INAMI has been using GeoGlows since 2022. What changed during the crisis was the application. For the first time, that water intelligence was connected directly to the management decisions for energy production. Every morning, the ministry knew exactly how much water was left in the reservoirs and what rivers were going to do. So the rationing decisions were based on the GeoGlows forecast. Was the crisis prevented? No. The drought was historic and the damage was real. But the ministry wasn't flying blind. They had forecast and enough foresight to manage the worst of it. In a crisis where every hour costs $12 million and 17 million people are sitting in the dark, the difference between having a forecast and not having is not a technical footnote. It is the difference between managing a crisis and being consumed by one. Thank you.
Thanks, Angelica. I guess the applause says it all. And you did say something about trust there, data that they can trust, and it's something we'll come back to later. But now let's move over to the location of people. And Michele, at the European Commission's Joint Research Center, you lead work on the global human settlement layer, the core exposure data set behind the GEO-Human Planet initiative and the foundation of a Copernicus emergency management's exposure mapping. In other words, this is the data that disaster managers reach for when they need to know where people are during an emergency. HPI has been in the GEO work program for nearly a decade, helping governments and institutions understand where people are and how human systems intersect with urbanization, vulnerability, and resilience. Can you tell us about where human planet insights have directly influenced planning, resilience, or policy decisions?
Thank you, Medea. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I'm extending the honor on behalf of the co-chairs of GEO-Human Planet, the European Commission, CBAS, SANSA, Columbia University, and the UN Sustainable Development Solution Network for the opportunity to address this plenary for the first time. As you correctly mentioned in the introduction, we are very proud that the GEO-Human Planet initiative has brought the human dimension and the people dimension into Earth observation, supporting early warning systems and crisis management, such as in the Copernicus Emergency Management Service. In this slide that appears dark, but actually captures where all or almost all humans live on Earth, we see the first global run and the first production of the operational exposure mapping component of the Emergency Management Service. And this data set is a foundation for Earth intelligence and really a platform for collaboration across thematic areas, across institutions, and across scales. As a result of the work of the GRC, together with the UN Statistics Division, UN POP has released the first edition of the World Urbanization Prospects, the 2025 edition, that for the first time includes Earth observation-derived products and the geospatial data. For us, this was a major breakthrough in the world of statistics and actually provides a new lens on urbanization and where and how we report the statistics about people and the built-up surfaces. These slides also reminds us that the operational production, as it was noted during the symposium, is really a key element for the sustainability and the achievement of Earth intelligence. So operations, such as the one guaranteed by Copernicus Emergency, are really foundation, but not only. We need integration of systems, we need integration of data. We will see human settlements are complex environments. So that's how crisis managers have at their fingertips information about people and built-up areas even before a disaster strikes. So this was really a game changer at the GRC when this information were pre-calculated and not had to be done on demand. The GEO-Human Planet information systems are also very well nested in the work of the UN Habitat, the UN program on human settlements, where we systematically produce input and evidences to the synthesis report on SDG 11 that is basically the barometer of how sustainable urbanization is moving, and also to the World Cities report, another flagship report of that organization that is really the stakeholder on human settlements. Diversifying also the work with international organization, a recent partnership with the World Bank has shed new light on 15,000 towns that were previously not systematically mapped, not systematically delineated. And this allowed the bank to prepare a report that will be launched later in this year on urbanization in sub-Saharan Africa. And for the first time, they could delineate a geography of 3 settlement typologies. So cities that need value-added job markets, peripheries, that is where the substance of urbanization is taking place. And the main message of that chapter is that towns are not adequately prepared for such expansion to take place. really surfacing the need for urban planning, risk reduction, and this is really key when we provide foreign investment or also development and cooperation funds. And towns, the last element, they are often unaccounted, so this is bringing new light there. As a last point, we are also celebrating the 10th anniversary of the Atlas of the Human Planet that has really made a substantial impact within the Commission, but also at international level, really bringing back this dimension of geography that sometimes goes a bit unaccounted as a horizontal topic across policies. So do we have a Department of Geography, or we have geography across all the different policies? So we really think that through Human Planet, we were diversifying our impact, not only delivering services, so operational products, but also the value-added knowledge that is what international development and Earth intelligence requires. Thank you.
Thanks, Michele. And that's really an interesting example of the World Bank discovering 15,000 towns that it didn't know existed, thanks to your work. Very quickly, can you tell us anything about how decision makers use your data has surprised you?
Indeed, over the years, the type of discussion we are having with stakeholders has really changed. At the beginning, we were engaging at a data level. So we were demonstrating the new capabilities of Earth observation, showcasing the potential and the first products that were developed by the GRC, but also by many other stakeholders. Now, the engagement with stakeholders, it's at the requirement level. So stakeholders know already what they need, and it's our task to contribute to their work, to accompany them, to make sure we avoid duplication, we really make innovation going into delivering the last mile impact. Thank you.
Thank you. Lisa, Digital Earth Africa launched in 2019 as a world first, freely accessible, decision-ready satellite data for an entire continent. At the time, the World Economic Forum estimated that it could generate over $2 billion a year for African economies. 6 years on, you have 10 operational services, 29,000 active users, and 6,500 developers. That's huge. And everyone in this room working on open data understands the dynamic that when systems are adopted at this scale, it's hard to fully trace their impacts. But you can trace some of them, I imagine. So please do tell us about where Digital Africa has changed an institutional practice.
Thank you, Madiha, and good morning, everyone. So I'm going to look at one specific example, one of our operational services. We heard about it briefly in Anche's example for Ghana. So across Africa, the Digital Earth Africa Coastlines Monitoring Service is increasingly being used as operational infrastructure for coastal governance. So this service was launched at GEO Week in Accra 3.5 years ago, and that was the last time I had the honor of speaking to the plenary. At that point in parallel, an independent evaluation was conducted that looked at the potential economic contribution of this service. So 3.5 years later, we're seeing a clear pattern of institutionalization. This is emerging among governments, environmental agencies, and regional organizations who are embedding this service into adaptation planning, infrastructure protection, and environmental reporting. So I'm going to look at two specific examples. One is Egypt. So Egypt's Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation has formally integrated Digital Earth Africa into national coastal and water management workflows under Egypt's 2050 water resources strategy. Egypt provides one of the clearest examples of the service being institutionalized within a government system. So under this strategy, the ministry has formally integrated the coastline service into its smart management to monitor more than 2,000 kilometers of coastline on an operational basis. The platform has enabled the authorities to evaluate shoreline protection infrastructure that's currently in place, identify erosion hotspots, and monitor coastal change over the past 25 years. The Egyptian General Authority for Shore Protection has adopted the platform for ongoing operational monitoring, demonstrating a shift from ad hoc coastal assessment towards continuous data-driven coastal governance. So why does this matter to us? Well, it indicates a broader institutional transformation from a fragmented monitoring approach to integrated data-driven environmental governance systems, with Digital Earth Africa functioning as part of Egypt's digital public infrastructure for water management. Moving to Senegal, we have another institutional example where the service is used in support of Senegal's National Adaptation Plan to understand how climate change, extreme events, and expanding human settlements are affecting coastal areas. The shoreline change data has helped identify erosion hotspots and evaluate the impacts of coastal protection infrastructure, such as breakwaters. So what has changed? Well, before, the coastal erosion assessments were localized and inconsistent, and adaptation planning relied heavily on limited field studies. So after the service was integrated, the government has gained access to long-term shoreline change analysis, erosion hotspots are identified systematically, and the information has been incorporated into Senegal's National Adaptation Plan processes. So why does this matter? Well, it represents a shift from reacting to erosion damage to proactively prioritizing adaptation and coastal protection investments. The Coastline Service, through this example, became part of a formal government planning workflow with the support of the Centre de Suivi Écologique. So we're looking at institutional change. Across Africa, we see the Coastlines monitoring tool helping to standardize how coastal change is measured and understood. So instead of relying primarily on isolated coastal studies, we now see Senegal and Egypt gaining standardized shoreline change monitoring, standardized annually updated erosion intelligence, and repeatable evidence for adaptation policy, as well as actionable strategies. So governments are integrating Earth observation data into routine decision-making, and we see this across African countries on an increasing basis. Agencies are developing operational monitoring systems based on our data, and coastal management is becoming more proactive, standardized, and data-driven. So from our perspective, we're seeing a transformation in how satellite imagery is moving from a technical resource into public decision infrastructure.
Incredible. Thank you, Lisa. We'll move on to our last question of this arc, to Wenjing. You have led GEO-PDRS at the Chinese Academy of Sciences Aerospace Information Research Institute since 2017. GEO-PDRS operates across Africa and Asia, working closely with FAO and GBIF. And what you're doing is essentially turning satellite data and AI into operational pest and disease intelligence. Your program has been on a bit of an awards run. You won the 2023 GEO Team Impact Award. In 2024, you won the FAO Honorary Achievement Award. And in 2025, your colleague Lin Yi Lu won the Emerging Leaders GEO Award. There's a few months left in 2026, Wenjing, we're counting on you. But awards do follow results, so let's talk about them. Can you share a concrete example where GEO-PDRS monitoring or forecasting helped reduce a concrete agricultural or ecological risk?
Okay, and thank you very much for the major. And just as we will show a video and as a background, under the climate change, just like FAO mentioned, is about 40% of yield loss at the global scale was caused by pest and disease. So especially in these years, we should pay much attention about the pest and disease for the yield loss, for the biomass loss, and to the grass and to the forestry. So because the transboundary pest and disease, they will fly from one country to another country at a global scale. So this question will be focused on how can we control it at the very early stage. That's very important. And for our PDRS and program, and we will focus on how to find the right place and how to solve it at the very early stage and the right time. And for our right place, we will try to do some simulation. For example, we will use also observations for the large scale of the plant distribution, of the crop growth conditions, of the grass and growth conditions. And also we will focus on with something about land surface temperature, because this also will affect the pest and disease develop. Also for the soil moisture. We will try to combine them together, then, and then we will know the high risk and these areas for the pest habitat areas. This is very important. So by doing this, we will know, oh, how about the high risk areas for the pest and disease? Another one is the right time, because you know the pest and disease we are developed by the temperature and some soil moisture. So we also, just like an WMO or some other, will release some meteorological data, and also we will get some cooperation. For example, we also get some cooperation with CAB International, also the international organization. Then we will try to put some EO products into some data simulation, also with AI, and then do the prediction. Then we can know and when is the right time for the desert locals that will and occur in some regions, especially in some Africa and Asian countries. For example, we have done this and with the cooperation with FAO and has been used in Somalia, Ethiopia, and Pakistan and other countries, for total of them about 19 countries, for the global scale control of desert locust. As FAO mentioned, and we also get a word from FAO. As FAO mentioned, it can be reduced and pesticide application for more than 20%. Also can increase the crop yield and increase the biodiversity. It's about 15%. So I think that maybe by doing this can help for the food security and for the maybe biodiversity. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Wenjing, and great to hear those numbers of a quantifiable decrease in pesticide use and an increase in yield. Can you tell us which partnerships have been essential for your success?
Yeah, and thank you. As you mentioned, I think that maybe and first the partnership also very important as well, and because we also get some cooperation with CAB International. Because CAB International is focused on the pest and disease and develop models. We will put some and also observation, some parameters into this and pest and disease develop models. We get this cooperation. We also get this cooperation with FAO, because you know FAO have the member countries. They have the field survey data and can be training our models or validation our models. Then, and we also get some cooperation with GBIF, because GBIF, you know, will support some distribution of some for the different varieties. Then I think the partnership is very important. Another one is the investment, I think. And because I think that we should thank for the Chinese government. For example, for most, just like GEO, also give us some support. We also get some funding from Chinese Academy of Science, and also get some funding from FAO. And by this funding also very important. Another one, I think that maybe we should try to use the AI and some other new technology can drive them for the different kind of the data, for the non-history data to find and to drive some models, then can be used in the different place and for the control of the pest disease at the early stage. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Wenjing. So what you've heard is basically 5 different programs with 5 different contexts, but a common thread of impact running through them. So what makes this impact possible? I think I'll start with Angelica and Lisa. We are in a challenging funding environment globally. Donors are asking, what is the value of your program project? How do you respond to that? Would you start, please, Angelica?
Thank you. I want to ask how many of you were part of the writing team of the GEO's Water Strategy 2014 led by JAXA? Please raise your hand. The answer to your question begins there. In 2014, 90 governments adopted a clear recommendation: the world needed decision-oriented global services supported by operational hydrology forecasting. That wasn't a research agenda, that was a mandate, and GeoGlows was built to deliver exactly that. ECMWF, NOAA, NASA, AWS, ESRI, WMO, and many others. These partners didn't come because we asked nicely. They came because the system works and because the mission was backed by the full weight of the GEO's water strategy. Recently, Google invested $3.5 million in GeoGlows, recognition that the impact is real. So what is the return on investment? Thank you. I'll give you two numbers. Honduras, $1.6 billion in avoided damage. One country, one event. In Ecuador, a $2 billion crisis, managed not out of control because every morning the government knew what to trust, what data to trust. That couldn't stop the drought, but they made better decisions because of GeoGlows. And those are just two cases where we can measure. There are many more happening right now that we are not tracking. That is exactly why this GEO effort is not finished. We are not here to debate whether GeoGlows is worth it. The question is how many countries and how many communities are still making billion-dollar decisions without a hydrological forecast.
So from our perspective, when we receive questions around impact from our community, from governments, from investment partners, I think there are three pathways that we speak to. So the first is adoption. Are ministries, agencies actually using our systems independently? And aside from the examples I gave earlier and the one of Ghana, over the past 6 months alone, we have government users from 35 different African countries accessing and implementing Digital Earth Africa data through our cloud platform. Now, these are only the ones we can measure. We can only measure users who come to us directly. There are many more who integrate it through APIs into their own platforms. For 25 of these countries, this is not through a single government department, but through multiple different agencies. We can also demonstrate cross-sectoral integration. For example, again, over the past 6 months alone, we have over 100 private sector entities integrating our data and over 90 NGOs. The second pathway for me is really institutionalization. So has the capability been embedded into policy, into operational workflows, national reporting systems, or long-term strategies? And we heard earlier the examples of Egypt and Senegal as two key ones. The third is scalability. Can one investment support many countries and sectors through shared digital public infrastructure? This is exactly where we sit. One investment into an infrastructure for the African continent that serves all 54 African countries and all sectoral institutions. So Digital Earth Africa is compelling to our investors and our users because it performs strongly across all three dimensions. We do not create isolated applications country by country. We're building continental scale operational capability that African institutions can repeatedly use and adapt to their own priorities. So I'll stop there.
In order for Earth intelligence to be adopted, you need trust. Angelica mentioned that earlier. Anche, from your work with countries, what builds trust?
Yeah, we in GeoLDN, we have a very country-focused approach. So trust is in building partnerships continuity, and in co-ownership. So countries use the services that are developed together with them and that respond to concrete problems on the ground, to national priorities, and that are embedded in long-term collaboration. So that's exactly the approach that GEO-LDN is taking since its creation, in response to the requests of the UNCCD parties. So the UNCCD parties gave GEO-LDN the mandate to support, and in every COP after the very first mandate, there were concrete decisions to mentioning GEO-LDN and asking for specific support, be it from better data quality, capacity development, support in integrated land use planning, reporting, and others. And the acknowledgement in these decisions is great from the UNCCD parties. So these COP decisions also help create confidence, legitimacy, continuity for participating countries and partners. So one of GEO-LDN's strengths is that it connects many different actors on a national level and also on a global level. So on a national level, these are ministries, university, regional organizations, technical agencies, and global scientific partners into one collaborative framework. Also, youth is also becoming one of the priorities, so including youth into the partnerships. So one important example here is the postgraduate program at the University of Energy and Natural Resources in Ghana, which is on land degradation neutrality and sustainable land use planning, which was supported by GEO-LDN and the UNCCD, and of course led by UANR, to equip young professionals and scholars with the skills they need to address land degradation challenges and to become future leaders in this important field. Another level of partnership is the South-South exchange, so the exchange among countries. So since 2023, GEO-LDN has organized 5 global dialogue forums to strengthen the exchange, cooperation, and peer learning between the countries and those different institutions. These forums have brought together governmental institutions of different sectors, scientific institutions, technical experts and practitioners from different regions to exchange their experiences, learn from each other, to exchange their challenges and practical solutions related to LDN. So, and here the continuity is also important. So not just the partnership, but the continuity that between those dialogue forums, the countries got specific tailored support through expert exchange, regional help desks, one-on-one online sessions, and also with a regional help desk that is hosted by RCMRD in Kenya. So to conclude is that our experience is that sustainable impact comes from combining Earth observation, local knowledge, institutional partnership, and long-term continuous commitment. So when countries feel ownership, when communities are included, and when partnerships continue beyond individual pilot projects, then Earth intelligence becomes truly actionable and sustainable. Let me just add one point. The collaboration between the global work program activities, I think, is another very important partnership, because we are all working in the countries, talking to ministries, and we have to ensure that we have a coherent approach when we work with the countries.
Thanks, Ajay. Oh, wow. And thank you for sharing just how complex and multi-pronged and delicate the process of building trust is. Michele, as most people in this room already know, GEO has 150 participating organizations. You work with many of those, working on urbanization, health, disaster resilience. How has this unlocked value for HPI?
Thank you, Mattia. Well, human settlements, as we speak, are complex environments. We need multi-thematic data to address the different dimensions that cities and settlements entail. And this is certainly very clear for a clarification to Thomas Kemper, who actually leads the global human settlement layer at the JRC. So in some Earth observations alone, so just remote sensing or a one-size-fits-all, it's not sufficient, it's not appropriate, especially in a landscape where a number of solutions, a number of innovation are bringing new ways to look at settlements from an integrated dimension. Our work with partners is spanning a variety of topics, as you mentioned. Human Planet is a broker of information, also contributing to the thematic hubs of Copernicus, certainly the one on health, the Arctic thematic hub, and the one on coastal areas. And we also call for a new thematic hub on cities that's potentially long overdue. We also support a variety of international frameworks. We mentioned sustainable development, resilience, Sendai, the environment with Paris. So you cannot aspire to contribute to the dialogue in those settings being on your own. So it's of utmost importance to combine interoperable data via standardization. And we can be very concrete, saying geospatial grids can be a very powerful tool to do that. We have several examples there. For example, some scientific research combining the global human settlement layer with the SDG-SAT nighttime light, or also combining global human settlement layer with the data coming from census, so national data on population. It's really important to create value, so go beyond the data sets and really support key users through the UN, through different line ministries, to really combine those information. And what we did through the degree of urbanization was helping half world countries to identify ways to define settlements. And really this unlocked a lot of discussion within countries looking at settlements in a new way. We also leverage diversity of mechanisms and forms of collaboration. We are propelled by a financial contribution by DG Research and Innovation, but also that allow us to coordinate the partnership. But also we have opportunities throughout the Horizon Europe, the call of the Chinese Ministry of Science and Technology that included for the first time GEO-Human Planet as a topic, and also calls by ESA, so the European Space Agency, for example, to work on human settlements and human settlement characterization. What remains open is the collaboration with more members of GEO across participating countries, but also work program activities, and also to look ahead at the next phase of the work program, where we have, for the first time, really integrated products produced by the different contributors across also the private sector, and not to forget one of the activities on vulnerabilities also financed by NASA and implemented by the private sector. Thank you.
Thanks, Michele. So it has unlocked access to users, technology, and financial resources. Wenjing, the last question of this section for you. GEO has many initiatives that enter as pilots, but relatively few scale to become initiatives. What has made GEO PDRS successful in doing this?
Okay, I think that is, at first, I thank you for your support and from the pilot to the entity. Another one, I think that maybe for PDRS and GeoPDRS, and we should try to show some end users. What about the end users leads? That's very important. Maybe we not just for the research, we should try to solve some problem about the end users. Also, for the different end users, maybe their demand they are different. For example, and we also and with them and for the FO to use, we will support some metro debt, and for the OS observation that we are joined with FO some pestilent disease warning system, and this is used by the FO at the global scale. If we will use it in some Africa or Asian countries, for example, in Somalia, Ethiopia, or Pakistan, we will directly to support some Earth observation and this driving this and maps. For this, pest and disease distribution maps can support them just the guiding. Just I mentioned when and where maybe the pest and disease are the high risk areas, and then they will control at the right place, right time. Another one we will and also get some for the API. For example, we will get the cooperation with GBIF by the API, and the GBIF and with some data by the API for our to import it. Then they will try to reduce the biodiversity and effect. Another one I think very important. We shall try to develop and for the different national and native. For example, we have developed some Kazakhstan language and this software, and for their natives to use it, and that's also very important. So I think that maybe and we should try to, so maybe for the different end users, we should try to combine different and kind of data together, and for the different methods to fit and to fit the need of for the different end users. That's very important. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Wenjing. And these are really important reflections also as GEO considers launching its innovation fund and accelerating that movement of activities along the R2O. We've come to close to an end before we open to the plenary for their interventions. But before we do so, I will invite our panelists to make one direct call of action to the plenary. And so if we could just start with Wenjing and automatically just go down the line, please.
Yeah, and thank you. I think that maybe just you mentioned, I think that maybe for the investment and cooperation and most important, also and for the AI, especially for them and also intelligence. And this also very important. So we will try to combine maybe different data also for the different and for some different international cooperation, also very important to solve this. Another one, maybe we need some platform. And we just work on this platform and we can solve some problems. Okay, so thank you.
So AI has been central to many discussions over the last couple of days during the symposium, but it also was high on people's discussion points that the use of AI is costly for individual users. The environmental implications are also significant and one that we're not talking about sufficiently as a community. There's also the potential here among or within that responsible use to look at economies of scale. And one of the biggest opportunities from my perspective is combining existing continental scale infrastructures, such as Digital Earth Africa, with generative AI to make Earth intelligence accessible to a much wider community beyond our usual technical users and specialists. So I'd be calling for any partnerships that connect Earth observation, AI, and public sector implementation, because I think that those can dramatically lower the barrier to adoption and help embed Earth intelligence into everyday government decision-making at scale.
Thank you. Then GEO-Human Planet is at a decisive stage and step in the R2O pipeline. It has a strong global partnership across all GEO regions and an increasing policy uptake across a variety of core users globally. The community now needs a GEO flagship on human settlements that is visible, scalable, and co-designed with users. So GEO-Human Planet can be the reference on settlements and population within GEO. This is really helping to connect across focus areas and the work program activities on resilience, urbanization that are already existing in the GEO work program. The big call is that next year will be key in the post-2030 global discussion. I really call for GEO to be ready to convey the importance of Earth observation, especially on human settlements. A GEO flagship on human settlement is the greatest asset in the portfolio to make this happen, especially when more than half of the global population lives in cities. Thank you.
In the developed world, the countries spend hundreds of millions of dollars to deliver river forecasts as a public good. GeoGlows does it for the entire planet on a shoestring budget. So the data exists, the mandate exists, and the impact exists. My call to this plenary is concrete. Help us establish a permanent funding facility through a multilateral fund that treats global hydrological forecasting for underserved communities the way the developed world treats its own weather services, as essential infrastructure, as a public good that cannot depend on project cycles and goodwill to survive. The GEO post-2025 strategy calls for increasing global equity and equality by ensuring Earth intelligence is accessible to all. And GeoGlows is exactly that. This strategy is written. We have your mandate. The only thing missing is the decision to fund it as what it already is, essential infrastructure for the countries that need it most.
I said trust, countries feel trust if there's long-term partnerships, sustained investment, and continued collaboration. But this continued implementation also requires continued investment. The demand from the countries is clear. It is reiterated COP in every conference of the parties of the UNCCD. So far, it's mainly Germany investing into GEO-LDN. So I would like to call on I think all of your countries are UNCCD parties. So I would call to all of those UNCCD parties and partners that are in a position to do so, to join Germany in supporting and funding GEO-LDN. And a very concrete idea and request is, at the moment, the UNCCD has implemented regional support centers to support countries in reporting, but this will cease after this reporting cycle. And the demand is there on a continuous level. So these are, for example, ASEAN, MRD in Kenya, OSS in Tunisia, and then we have CBAS, we have JRC. So if there was an investment in those institutions, either in kind from those institutions or financial investment from donors to help continue this support to the countries, this would be very impactful. And this could also combine biodiversity and climate topics, joining with GeoBon or GeoGLAM with agriculture.
Thank you. 5 calls for action. Allow me to abuse my position as a moderator and add a 6th. We heard at the opening ceremony support for the GEO Value Toolkit, undertaking an impact evaluation costs funds. Please support us so we can undertake those sort of assessments. You've heard these stories of impact already. We can do this at scale as well, but we do need dedicated resources for that. I am now pleased to open the floor for your comments, your reflections and interventions. There will be a time limit of 2 minutes per intervention. Please raise your flag and keep it raised, and I will call upon you. And because Senegal did it just even before I started speaking, please take the floor.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Senegal commends the panelists and reaffirm its strong support for 3 programs vital for Africa: the GEO Land Degradation Neutrality Flagship, Digital Earth Africa, and the GeoGlows initiative First, on GEO-LDN. In Senegal, we are already delivering using tools such Trend Earth and land use planning for LDN. Senegal is integrating land degradation neutrality into land use planning across 19 municipalities with restoration activities that benefit rural women and youth, showcased at the GEO-LDN Pavilion at UNCCD COP16 in Riyadh. Second, with Digital Earth Africa, we are also delivering. Senegal has working with DAfrica to bring the power of satellite-based coastal monitoring directly into the hand of those who manage Senegal's shoreline. We conducted a rigorous two-phase validation of the DAfrica coastline algorithm, which confirmed it could be trusted for operational decision-making along West African coasts. The DAfrica coastline services is now used to strengthen national monitoring of coastal risk indicator under the master plan for the West African coastline, covering 12 members countries. And finally, with GeoGlows, Senegals want to engage. Senegal sees real value in its flood forecasting and water produce and is keen to contribute through the severe West African up to our region water services. Together, they advance the African Union Agenda 2063 and the African space policy it carries, and embody the AfriGeo Strategic Implementation Plan 2026-2036, building African capacity. They resonate at home with the third axis of Senegal Vision 2050, a sustainability planet and resilient territory, and with Senegal New Deal technology and its data sovereignty agenda. So our message is simple. Let us move from result to scale with sustained investment, genuine partnership, and African ownership of that data and expertise. Geo Promise is Earth intelligence for all. Senegal stands ready to amplify this impact together. Thank you.
Thank you. I see a lot of flags, so please do keep your interventions brief. The next three will be Colombia, China, and Ghana in that order. Colombia, please, you may take the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Colombia recognizes and celebrates GeoGlow's achievements as a vital tool for worldwide communities lacking instruments to monitor water management at different scales, helping to close critical gaps in water sustainability and risk management. We also strongly support the Human Planet Initiative, crucial to implement Earth intelligence for many diverse people and communities in our country. The Columbia Geographical Institute reaffirms its commitment to advancing and supporting the Human Planet Initiative and highlighted the Human Planet leadership that makes this possible. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair. China extends its appreciation to all the member states, participation organizations, and experts who have actively contributed to the GEO work program. We also call upon more members and experts to join in this important endeavor. We highly appreciated the great job done by GEO PDRS and GEO Human Planet particularly, which have been funded by China as well. It is delighted that GEO Human Planet also recognized SDG Set 1 as one of the important impetus. As a co-chair of GEO, China has been promoting the application of Earth observation technologies for global sustainable development, adhering to the vision of building a community with a shared future for mankind. Within the post-2025 GWP framework, China leads our participants in 15 projects, spanning GEO's 6 thematic focus areas and 2 cross-cutting focus areas, covering climate change response, disaster risk reduction, sustainable development, resilient cities, ecological conservation, and Earth intelligence. Here, I would like to share some information about two projects led by the Ministry of Natural Resources of China, the agency I work for. The first is the Earth Observation for Global Karst Region Project, GEO-4 Karst. This project has established a multi-source data monitoring network covering 12 countries, among which 5 have achieved real-time data sharing. The China-Indonesia and China-Iran collaborations have been recognized by the UN as good practices for South-South cooperation. The project has proposed 3 sustainable development models for major karst regions and supported the release of the first international standards in global karst field, ISO 8616. For the future, China will promote the development of a 3-dimensional karst monitoring network spanning 4 continents to be further involved in the advancement of Earth intelligence. The second project is the Earth Observation for Multi-Scale Monitoring of Mining Impacts, GEOMINE. Mine subsidence pose threat to surrounding communities and damage cultivated land resources. The GEOMINE team, composed of researchers from China, Portugal, and Pakistan, has established a technical workflow integrating remote sensing and AI. Along with prototype operational system, the project has preliminarily achieved remote sensing-based subsidence mapping of coal mines in Pakistan. Relevant INSA automated toolkits and the Unit++ model have been open sourced. In the future, liberating China.
May I invite you to finish your contribution so
Okay.
we can get to the next speakers?
In the future, with the project will further contribute to the sustainable development of mining area worldwide. Earth observation bridges science to policy and data to action, following the principles of openness, inclusiveness, cooperation, and shared benefit. China will continue to work together with all GEO member states and stakeholders to advance the development of Earth intelligence and contribute more wisdom and strength for harmony between humanity and nature. Thank you.
Thank you. Togo, please. And please stay within the 2 minutes that we have allotted if you want to get to lunch on time.
Thank you. It's just a quick comment that I'd like to add quickly. Thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for the great presentation. And I would like to say congratulations to Digital Earth Africa for the great work you are doing. As a new member, it's a great privilege for us to see that case studies are already being developed across Africa. And once again, just to reiterate that we are really open to collaborate, and we welcome pilot projects, we welcome case studies. If maybe you already started some of the project but would like to move forward, we are available to provide more information on the different projects that we highlighted in our speech today. It was a very short speech, so we couldn't give more details, but we are available to provide more information. And one advantage also working with Togo is that we work as an integrated platform, bringing in together different ministries at the same time. So reaching out to us, you are reaching out to different ministries at the same time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And for the next set of 3 interventions, Ghana, France, and Japan, please.
Okay, thank you. So first of all, my name is Amos, and with my team here. But first of all, we want to send apologies from our GEO principal, Dr. Joseph Tando, who could not make it due to some emergencies. So Ghana likes to highlight geostrategic potential as a broker for international engagement in support of Ghana's national artificial intelligence strategy that we are implementing. Ghana welcomes the efforts to strengthen GeoGlows into the national and regional systems. We see that this is a real opportunity for us, especially the fact that in Ghana and other African countries, data scarcity is a critical issue. So this is something that we think is very important. And on back of that, Ghana launched what we call a 24-hour economy, which is driven by agriculture. And one of our biggest challenges is also the issue of pest diseases and what have you. So the initiative which is tackling this is very important and would like to have more engagement. Ghana also, the population is increasing and issues about the GEO-21 Plenary initiative is very important, and we also welcome to have some kind of discussion on how we can go around that. Then with Digital F, Ghana is a very strong partner, which I want to mention. In fact, through the University of Energy and Natural Resources, we have an MOU with Digital F, which we have been building quite a number of capacities around that. Then also on GeoLDN, I want to mention, aside all the other wonderful things that were mentioned, that the postgraduate program at the University of Energy and Natural Resources, which is already taking students from Africa, is scaling up to another university in Africa, University of Zimbabwe, where we are trying to have what we call a joint program that is looking at land, water, food, energy centers. On that note, we thank everyone for making the opportunity to be here, and Ghana welcomes all the nice discussions I have. Thank you.
Thank you. First, I would like to thank the speaker for their inspiring presentation. And I would like to underline that the GEO work program is important for organizing activities and tracking their progress through the flagship stage and beyond. The two flagships presented demonstrate impressive and inspiring results for the entire GEO work program. In particular, GeoLDN serves as a strong model for work program activities due to its direct link with the UNCCD and the adoption by a very large number of countries of GeoLDN's methods and tools for reporting. In addition to the two initiatives presented, one of which, a Human Planet initiative, highlights the importance of Copernicus, which we welcome. And it is worth highlighting other initiatives. First, GeoTrees, which receives support, notably financial, from the One Forest Vision initiative, and GeoWetland, which is now fully coordinated with Ramsar Convention and supported by many countries, including European Commission and France. Thank you.
Thank you, France. And Japan?
Thank you very much for your contributions, and then through each of the designated GEO initiatives, and then which supports the development of the Earth intelligence for your specific decision-making needs. I really like, thanks for the Angelica, but you mentioned about the GEO's water strategy, which was developed in 2014, and then JAXA was really heavy effort to donate it about across in all integration on the different spaces, different UN, different organizations that was provided, still developing for the GeoGlows and other water initiatives. That was really grateful. And then I have, this is just unofficial comments, but my official comment is I would like to further highlight your contribution by linking them to the GeoEO for SDG initiatives, which Japan and also the JAXA have led since its inception 2015. In particular, we have worked closely with GeoHuman Planet initiatives and over a long period to develop the Earth observation toolkit for sustainable cities and human settlements. The toolkit designed place the Earth observation data tools into contextual analytic in the national and the city governance, as well as the local community level. It focuses on end users' stories that demonstrate how EO applications can improve on timeliness, quality of urban-related indicators, inform policy decision, and support sustainable urban development. EO4 SDGs is currently evolving within a new GEO work program as of enabling frameworks. Yesterday, we had a great community events with China CBAS, ESRI, Stockholm University, FAO, ERSC, CCMS, and Japan NPEC. As the consequence of the events, we felt EO4 SDG will follow our activities will become more cross-cutting and supporting not only for the urban issue, but also the challenges just presented at the podium, such as water-related disaster, land degradation neutrality, and other key activities. We believe GEO needs some cross-cutting and integration framework. In addition, we propose a new indicator frameworks and incorporate AI and machine learning techniques. Japan and JAXA will continue to support all the GEO work program, more to integrate framework together with AI and saving all the challenge in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Japan. And we will close off this intervention round with the final 4 speakers from Greece, Paraguay, Nigeria, and the United States in that order. Greece, you may take the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Our compliments to all activities that have managed to show up the impact they are really having on the ground. So as Greece, we are already feeling the benefits of some of the products that are being produced. And I would like to explicitly mention the products we are using from the Human Planet Initiative at the country level, as we have managed to innovate by combining the microstatistics data with HPI layers and other Copernicus services. And in this aspect, we have also managed a side effect, which is to bring closer to GEO, at least now at the national level, other experts, like building energy efficiency experts. And this is very important, because as it was mentioned in one of the panels yesterday, we are enabled to initialize the implementation of Earth intelligence at the country level. And this was massively and decisively catalyzed by the layers by Human Planet Initiative. The products that we are delivering are already implemented in 3 cities in Greece to take or inform decision-making. And there is great interest in upscaling that in more cities in Greece. And I think this is very important to be mentioned. And I'm very glad that we have adopted this evergreen cycle in our program so that we can really, at any time, reposition the activities according to the evolving maturity in order to further enhance the impact that we expect from them. Thank you very much.
Paraguay.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Dear colleagues and friends, Paraguay would like to express our deep appreciation for the work of the Group of Earth Observations and the spirit of collaboration that continues to unite our global community. For emerging countries, GEO is not simply a platform for accessing data, it is a bridge that connects nations, institutions, experts, and communities through shared knowledge, practical cooperation, and collective commitment to improving lives through Earth observations. The true value of GEO lies in this ability to transform advanced science and technology into real tools that help governments make better decisions, strengthen resilience, and protect people, as stated clearly in the GEO Post-2025 strategy. Initiatives presented today, like GEO-LDN, Digital Earth, PDRS, HPI, and especially GEO-GLOWS, clearly demonstrate the power of international collaboration. In the case of GEO-GLOWS, through shared hydrological information, forecasting systems, and open technologies, countries are better equipped to anticipate risks, improve preparedness, and support vulnerable populations. We strongly support the growing collaboration between GEO and WMO to build operational hydrological services for our shared rivers and stand ready to deepen our engagement with GEO-GLOWS to make that a reality. We remain fully committed to working together with all GEO members and partners to expand access of Earth intelligence, strengthen resilience, and ensure that the benefit of this technology reach those who need them most. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nigeria and then United States.
Thank you for recognizing Nigeria. Nigeria, through GEO-Nigeria and the National Space Research and Development Agency, would like to recognize the important role that Digital Earth Africa is playing in using Earth observation for various interventions. And we look forward to developing several use cases solutions together. We also recognize the role that GeoGlows is playing in advancing operational water intelligence, hydrological forecasting, and decision support system within the GEO ecosystem. We particularly appreciate the ongoing engagement between GeoGlows, AfriGeo Secretariat, and GEO-Nigeria towards the development of the proposed AfriGeo Water Intelligence, institutional and informational flow mapping activity, with Nigeria serving as the first pilot template country. This initiative is important because it focuses not only on technology, but also on institutional coordination, operational readiness, information flow, and how critical water-related information reaches vulnerable communities. We therefore welcome continued collaboration between GeoGlows, AfriGeo, and the African Geo member countries as we collectively work towards strengthening water resilience, disaster preparedness, hydromet coordination, and evidence-based decision-making across the continent. I thank you.
Thank you. United States, please.
The United States is pleased to see advances in GEO's flagships. We congratulate GeoGlows on achieving flagship status in the current work program. GeoGlows exemplifies the best of GEO, a partnership of US, European, academic, and private sector partners supporting decision makers in member countries for flood forecasting response. Innovation is driven by robust partnerships and investments. The United States is pleased to see the establishment of a GEO Innovation Fund pilot program that can facilitate diverse investment opportunities and accelerate innovation in the GEO work program. We look forward to seeing future advances stemming from GEO's flagships and other activities in the GEO work program. Thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to conclude with a word of gratitude to our wonderful panelists for sharing their expertise, experiences, and stories of impact, to the plenary for your incredible words of support, which I speak for the panelists, leave us inspired, humbled, and encouraged. And we hope that the calls for action that you heard from these programs will set us off in a good direction. There are 49 projects and programs in the GEO work program. There's a lot more impact there, and we look forward to sharing that with you and working with you to upscale and advance as we go forward. Thank you very much. Sorry, I forgot the most important thing, which is lunch. There's a slight change. In fact, the cafeteria is indeed open, so you have a choice. You can have the sandwiches on the ground floor, or you can go upstairs and have some warm food. We return at 13:15 for the next session, led by my colleague, Sarah. We'll see you in an hour in this room. Thank you.